welcome back to the channel, welcome back to Life Behind the Sticks. How you doing today? Hope you're well, my YouTube family, my G4 family. And today what I thought we would talk about is audio and some improvements and some plugins and effects and all kinds of stuff that you can do to improve your audio for your channel. Hope it's going to be useful. Let's do it! So one of the things that I would encourage you to do with your channel when you're content creating is to look at all aspects of things that you can improve, and certainly audio is an extremely important aspect of what you're putting out on your channel. And if you have poor audio on your content, it can put people off and people just click off it, and so sometimes it's even more important than the actual imagery that you're putting forward. The audio needs to be on point. So what I thought I would do today is there's a whole lot of things that I can show you that can improve your audio. And what I'm going to do today, I'm not going to specifically say you should be using this program or that program. This is going to be a very broad look at a number of effects, plugins, programs, and just a base thinking on how to improve your audio. So it doesn't matter what operating system or computer or whatever you've got to do your editing. This applies across the board. And I think the first place to start is with microphones, and then we're going to get into some of the software options that you haven't, that you may not know about, that will improve your audio at a site. Are you ready? Hopefully you are. Let's get into it. And I think where we start is with your microphone.
So we've covered microphones before on the channel in the how-to series, which was kind of the precursor to Life Behind the Sticks. So if you want to go back and watch that episode, please feel free to. Like I said earlier, it's not my job to say you should buy this product or that product. That's not what we're about here, and that's not what we're talking about. It's really just what I'd encourage you to do is whatever microphone you have, and there will be several different types of microphone depending on what you're doing. And again, we've covered that in previous episodes, but what I'd encourage you to do is optimize as much as you can the microphone that you're using. I personally use a Blue Yeti. I've been using it for years, and that has several functions on it that, depending on what I'm doing, I need to set it up in different ways. So understanding your microphone, understanding the settings that it offers, making sure that you've got the right settings for whatever's coming into your system is absolutely key. I'm going to give you a few examples with the Blue Yeti now, just so it makes a little bit more sense for you. So on the Blue Yeti microphone, there's 4 different settings, and there's a little button on the back of the mic that you can use to adjust this. And they've put this table together, and it's very easy even for me to follow. So if you start from the top, the stereo is more about capturing vocals, ensemble, choir, if you ever got an ensemble choir that you want to capture, and instruments. So if you're recording music, then that is the setting for you. Cardioid, and that's the one that I usually use, is good for podcast, voiceovers, vocals, and also you can capture instruments. Omnidirectional is for conference calls and field recordings and etc. And then bidirectional is for interviews and whatnot. Now, so you'll notice with the bidirectional, if you look at the kind of second image over from the left, the bidirectional actually opens up microphones on both sides of the mic, so that you can record, so you can go back and forward, whereas the other 3 only have one source where your voice is going to come in, and that's illustrated by that little picture that looks like a little bit like a gun sight, I guess, or some kind of thing. But that's what basically it's saying, is that the bidirectional allows people to talk both sides of the microphone. So understanding that, and also tweaking the gain on the back of the mic for me has been huge, because that's reduces the amount of noise that comes in, and just getting that optimized. And I'm sure there are plenty, depending on what microphone you're using and what you're doing with it, I'm sure there's a tutorial somewhere on YouTube that will help you to optimize the settings of your own microphone. So, okay, so we've got our microphone optimized as best we can. We can, of course, tweak that in software in post if we need to. But I think if you can get your audio the best it can be for the mic you're using coming in, it will make a huge difference, and it'll save you a heck of a lot of time in post-processing and trying to get the quality that you like, or you want, or you desire, I guess. Okay, so moving on, I think one of the most important things to do with your audio is have different tracks for different things. It will save you, it makes life a little bit more complicated in the fact that there's different elements that you have to manage. But let me tell you, as far as editing goes, it gives you so much more flexibility. So I'm going to use gameplay as an example, but this could be anything, blogging, whatever. So what I mean by that is, generally how I operate is, for my gameplay, I will have the gameplay audio baked into the video. So Elgato does offer a separate audio track if you want it for gameplay. That's how it outputs. But generally, if you have the video and the gameplay audio together, you're not going to have to worry about trying to sync that up with the images on screen. So syncing up audio to gameplay can be a little bit tricky. So I generally like to have my audio baked in with my gameplay, and then I would have a separate voiceover track, and sometimes also I'll include music in my track. So the most I generally will have is about 3 to 4 tracks. I might add some special effects in there as well. So anyway, generally making a video, I would have 2 tracks. I would have my voiceover audio, and I'd have my gameplay audio already included with my video footage. So the reason I think that's important to have separate audio tracks is it helps you balance things and gives you a heck of a lot more flexibility in trying to balance up the noise levels, the volume levels, the quality of the audio all together in one place. If it's all as sometimes happens, if you're doing live comms, your microphone might be too low, or the game, in certain parts of a game, it might be extremely loud, and so it just all gets a bit muddy. So having those separate tracks is fantastic. And even if I'm doing a live comm, I generally I'm recording using Audio Hijack on a separate audio, and then I'll sync that up with the imagery later. So let's move on to software programs now, and we'll talk through some effects that you can potentially use to enhance your voice, enhance your audio, and just make it a little bit more pleasant to the end user. Okay, so using a program that has some kind of plugin with it, or some kind of effects processing, is a key for this. Now, I use a program for Mac called Audio Hijack. That's specifically a Mac based program. You can use things like Reaper or Audacity for Windows. Doesn't really matter, as long as it's got some kind of level of flexibility and you can add things to it. So you can see here, this looks a little bit complicated, and we will take you through each of these in a wee bit and show you how it all works. But I've got my monitoring levels here, as you can see. And generally for voiceover, you want them kind of sitting between kind of 12, minus 9 dB. And you can see my voice isn't peaking much beyond that, and that's because I've got some effects on it. But here are these things that you can do. Now, I'm going to switch a heap of these off, and hopefully you will hear the difference in the audio quality when I do that. So we're going to take these one at a time, and with most of these programs you should be able to find these effects. If you can't, you should be able to track down plugins, and I will leave some links to the plugins. So the first thing I would encourage you to do is find some kind of equalizer for your voice. Now, for Audio Hijack, I have this one here, and it actually gives me all the presets from iTunes into this program, so you can see them all down here. I generally use a bass booster, and then what I do is then I reduce the numbers down on this side for my voice, and it makes a heck of a difference. So I'm actually going to show you, I'm just going to click through a few of these presets, and you'll see the difference in my voice as I do this. So, you know, I can reduce the treble, I can reduce this is going to be very specific to your voice. I can hit the small speakers if I like, whatever. So I generally use the bass booster, so that's my starting point. In a second. Bass reducer, beg your pardon. I use the bass reducer as my starting point, and then what I do is I can manually tweak these settings to suit my voice. So this will take a little bit of playing around with. It's not going to be perfect straight away, but play around with it, and what you're going to find is you're going to find something that really does enhance your voice. Now, I've played around with this a little bit, and I know what kind of suits my voice, and that's about where we sit with that. So that's perfect. Now, just to go back, because I've switched these off, and we'll get to those in a minute, my voice can peak way above there. You can see it can peak way above there now. And this is next what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about compressing your voice. Now, compressing your voice, this looks complicated, but essentially what this is doing is when you see an audio file, and especially if you're singing or something, you're going to have these peaks and troughs, or louder areas and quieter areas that are going to be present in an audio track. What a compressor does is it basically takes the highs and the lows and balances those, so it's reasonably flat across the board, and that the volume levels of the low areas of your audio and the high areas of your audio are very similar. And therefore it's very useful to get a consistency, if you like, into your recordings. And I use this a lot, and it helps a heck of a lot. And I generally then use this dynamics processor. You don't have to do this, but I generally use this dynamic processor, which is available in Audio Hijack, which is a second compression, and it just smooths things out a little bit more. The third thing that I would suggest you think about using is a limiter. Now, how this works essentially is when I switch it on and I set it up, and I use Loud Max here, it will limit the amount of volume in my voice. So I'm going to set these to 10. There we go, and 10 there. It's pretty easy, 10 and 10. And basically this won't peak much past 10 here. And the reason I've got it at 10 and 10 is because, as we're about to show you in Davinci Resolve, it will limit what the audio can peak at. So you're not going to get these big kind of spikes in your audio, and I'll show you what a spike looks like in a minute so you understand what I'm talking about. But if you don't have a limiter on, then this will peak and then you'll get some kind of distortion in your voice. So here we are in the recording that we're actually making at the moment, which is like a dream within a dream. Anyway, you can see with my audio here, it is pretty flat. There's some yellow peaks here, but it's pretty flat. It's pretty even. And that's, because I've got compression and I've got limiter on. If I pull this audio up, you're going to start to see all these peaks. See these peaks now. Your waveform will look different depending on what program you're using, but you can see once I get into the red, that's going to start distorting, and it's going to be a heck of a loud. And we really don't want that. It's way too loud. It's going to start distorting, as you can hear. So we don't want that. We want it kind of nice and even if we can get it. And that's the reason why you use these plugins. The plugins will just make the audio sound better. It will equalize it, and it will save you from a lot of hassle with clipping and trying to balance things. And once you've got a waveform that has all these kind of peaks and troughs, it's a nightmare to try and then do some post-processing to get rid of them. So it's better that you have the effects on your microphone, on your recording as you're doing it, and then you don't have to worry about it in future. So here we are in Davinci Resolve and Fairlight. This is a couple of tracks there, but essentially all I need to do to add a plugin to the Fairlight audio source is just to click on the plus button, and it gives me a whole lot of options that I can choose from. EQ, all kinds of stuff that I can add to my audio before I render it. So this could also be a possibility for you to use. Now you can see I've got two different effects already on my audio. One is a compressor, one is a limiter, and this looks a little bit different as a compressor, but it's essentially the same company that we showed you. So the key things here is the ratio. I usually have 1.5.1. The threshold at -24, attack at 40 mils, release at 100 milliseconds, and yeah, that's pretty much all our input. Now you can do these manually. You can actually add these manually, and there you go. And I'll leave these in the description as well, by the way, guys, so that you can see them. So loud max, the limiter, pretty much the same. And that's set at 10 and 10, and you can see it in the down in the right hand side there. It is doing a fairly good job at holding that level at 10, so that it's nice and equal, and so that you don't get too many spikes or distortions in your audio. And that's pretty nice. Now we will go across the timeline in a second and show you what this all looks like and how even the audio actually is before a render by adding these to the track. We might just have to change the height and the look of the audio so that you can see this. We'll change the height, and you can see that's actually pretty even as an audio track. That is pretty even. As far as the there you go, that's probably better. As far as the audio goes, it's almost flat. There are some peaks, but nothing too radical, which is what I like. And it just evens out if you're shouting, or if you're doing some voice audio and you get excited and you shout, you're not going to blow people's ears off. So the other thing that I like about Davinci Resolve is you can actually output the audio only. So this is the render, the final render screen, and if you scroll all the way across to the right here, you can see audio only. You can render the audio out. So if you do voiceovers, you can actually render the voiceover out in your system. So there you go, guys. There is some tips and tricks on audio and improving your audio. Most of this has been voiceover related, but
Obviously, we covered some of the mixing the audio and trying to get that all nice and even and sounding as you would like. Hopefully it's been useful. If it has, leave a comment down below. Let me know. Like ratings, always appreciated. If you want to see more of this kind of stuff and tips and tricks for gaming and for content creating, subscribe down below. Put the notification bell on and you won't miss a thing. Thanks for watching. Catch you next time on Life Behind the Sticks. See you.